Welcome to Biggest Spoilars, the destination for exclusive spoilers, latest updates.
At Brooke's house, Liam, Hope and Beth celebrate the engagement. Beth declares this the stylish day ever. At Forrester, Donna and Brooke gush over Hope's new line. Joining Katie, the third family says Hope's future is looking bright. Brooke hopes she doesn't put her particular life on hold, as if, and Katie smiles deliberately, she's enough sure there's no solicitude about that. Right on cue, Hope process Brooke home. Donna senses Katie knows commodity, so Katie spills the sap. Why does Lee question Sheila? With Lee, Sheila tells her she can't believe she didn't lose her license for what she did. Luna only brought further chaos into their lives. She just wants her hubby to come home, but he has to want to come home. They phenomenon over the bond they now partake over their granddaughter before Sheila goes back to obsessing over her marriage and hoping Taylor can save it. Lee tries to be encouraging but can't help but bring up the death trouble Sheila made about Taylor. That was just you blowing off broom, right? Sheila explodes that she's not that person presently, sure, Jan, and goes back to obsessing. She needs Taylor to endorse for her marriage. How close will Taylor and Deacon get? In Taylor's office, she and Cleric grasp, and he tells her that he can understand the heartache she's gone through, prompting her to talk to him. After some ranting about how poorly they've been treated in their connections, Cleric tells Taylor he feels connected to her. He wants her to feel connected too. Taylor makes noises about this, being unhappy, but smiles when Deacon takes her hand and says she can trust him. "I'm then for you." Taylor opens up about the dreaded love triangle with Ridge and Brooke, and Cleric comforts her. As Sheila sends Deacon a communication to come home, Taylor complains to the restaurateur about Brooke wriggling and roaring her way into Ridge's heart. She ends up crying in Deacon's arms, and before you know it, they're gaping into each other's eyes. Happy ending? At Brooke's place, Hope and Liam joke about Beth's big plans for their marriage, spoon, and make sincere speeches until Brooke arrives. They chatter down until Brooke notices the engagement ring, and they confirm the happy news. Beth appears and celebrating ensues. The Los Angeles sun streamed through the vaulted windows of the Spencer mansion, casting a golden, almost divine light upon the meticulously arranged floral arches. Each white rose and sprig of baby's breath seemed to hold its breath, a silent participant in the long-awaited union about to take place. In the air hung a fragile, precious hope, the hope of a family finally made whole. Today, Hope Logan was to become Hope Spencer, and for Liam Spencer, it was the culmination of a decade-long journey through heartbreak, betrayal, and reconciliation. It was to be more than a wedding, it was a baptism, a sacred washing away of past sins and a rebirth into a future built on the bedrock of their enduring, if oft-tested, love. But in the world of the Logans, Forresters, and Spencers, serenity is merely the prelude to a storm. And the tempest, in the form of Steffy Forrester, was already gathering, her heart a maelstrom of fury and desperation, clutching a secret that had the power to reduce this picture-perfect day to ashes. Part 1, The Calm Before the Storm, a Baptism of Hope. The morning began not with wedding jitters, but with a different, more profound kind of ceremony. In a quiet, sun-drenched room at the Forrester estate, the soft gurgles of Beth Spencer filled the air. Dressed in a delicate, heirloom christening gown, she was the living, breathing symbol of her parents' most impossible victory. The memory of her loss, the agonizing months believing her to be gone, made her presence in their arms a miracle that neither Hope nor Liam would ever take for granted. Ridge Forrester, a patriarch whose own life was a tapestry of complex loyalties, stood with a rare, unguarded softness in his eyes. Brooke Logan, Hope's mother, beamed with a joy that seemed to erase every wrinkle of worry from her face. This moment was a balm, a healing of old wounds. As the priest gently anointed Beth with holy water, tracing the sign of the cross on her forehead, a collective sigh of relief seemed to pass through the small gathering. "We thank you for the gift of this child, Beth," the priest intoned, his voice a steady, comforting rhythm. "And for her parents, Hope and Liam, whose love and perseverance have brought them to this blessed day." Liam's hand found Hope's, their fingers intertwining as they looked down at their daughter. His voice was thick with emotion as he whispered, "She's our miracle, Hope. Our beautiful, perfect miracle. And today today we make it all official. We become a family, in every sense of the word. Hope's eyes, shimmering with unshed tears, met his. This is the beginning of everything, Liam. No more past, no more shadows. Just us, and Beth, and our future. A real future. Brooke, ever the optimist, leaned in. See? I told you. After everything you've been through, you've earned this happiness. This is your time. Nothing and no one can take this away from you now. They were encouraging words, spoken from a mother's heart, but they hung in the air with a terrible, dramatic irony. For just miles away, the one person who could and would take it all away was preparing her assault. Part 2, The Whispers of War, Steffy's Descent. In the sleek, modern confines of her cliffside home, Steffy Forrester was a vision of coiled rage. The news of the wedding, delivered with casual finality by her father, had struck her not as a surprise, but as a declaration of war. For years, she had been locked in a dizzying waltz with Liam and Hope, a triangle of passion, betrayal, and reconciliation. She had been his wife, more than once. She had borne his child, Kelly, who was a living testament to their own deep, complicated bond. To Steffy, Hope wasn't just a rival, she was a symbol of a love that had consistently undermined her own. Hope, with her hope for the future legacy and her saintly patience, had always been the one Liam ultimately returned to, no matter how deep his connection with Steffy ran. And now, with Beth in the picture, their union was being sanctified in a way Steffy felt erased her own family. He's marrying her today, she seethed to herself, pacing the length of her living room, the hard heels of her boots clicking a staccato rhythm of fury on the polished concrete. After everything. After all the times he's run back to me, after all the promises, he's making it permanent. Her gaze fell on a photograph of Kelly and Liam, their heads thrown back in laughter. A fresh wave of anguish washed over her. What about our family, Liam? What about Kelly? Does she just get a part-time dad while you play house with Hope and your real daughter? It was in this maelstrom of hurt and indignation that the memory surfaced, a weapon she had kept holstered, a secret so explosive she had almost convinced herself it didn't matter. But now, it was all that mattered. It was a fleeting moment, weeks ago. She had gone to see Liam at the office, needing to discuss co-parenting schedules for Kelly. She'd found him not at his desk, but in the design office, standing uncomfortably close to Hope. It wasn't a passionate embrace, but it was intimate. Hope's hand was on his arm, her face tilted up to his, and she was whispering something, her eyes pleading. Liam's posture was tense, conflicted. Steffy had frozen, hidden by a half-closed door. Hope's words, though hushed, had been clear and desperate. Liam, please, we can't keep doing this. We have to tell her. We have to tell Steffy the truth about that night. Liam had shaken his head, his voice a low, urgent rumble. No, Hope. We can't. It would destroy everything. It was a mistake. A terrible, drunken mistake. We have to forget it ever happened. Steffy had retreated before being seen, her mind reeling. That night. The night of the Forrester Creations Gala, weeks ago. Liam had come home to her afterwards, smelling faintly of whiskey and Hope's perfume. He'd been distant, withdrawn. She had written it off as stress. Now, she knew it was guilt. The pieces clicked into a damning mosaic. They had slept together. It wasn't just an emotional connection, it was physical. And it had happened after he and Hope had reconciled, after they had promised to build their future. They were liars. Hypocrites. And they were about to seal their lies with vows in front of all their friends and family. A mistake? Steffy snarled at her reflection. You're about to marry the mistake, Liam. You're building your entire life on a lie. And you think you can just leave me and Kelly in the dust? The anger was no longer just about losing Liam. It was about justice. It was about the sheer, unmitigated gall of them presenting themselves as the perfect, destined couple while hiding a betrayal of their own. The encouraging words Brooke had spoken at the baptism, "Nothing and no one can take this away from you," echoed in Steffy's mind, taunting her. "Oh, I can take it away," she whispered, her voice dangerously calm. "And I will." She wasn't just going to confront Liam privately. That would be too easy, too quiet. They deserved a spectacle. They deserved to have their perfect day torn down in front of everyone, just as they were tearing down her sense of family. This wasn't just a revelation, it was a reckoning. Part 3, The Unraveling Ceremony. Encouraging words turned to ash. Back at the Spencer mansion, the atmosphere had shifted from the sacred quiet of the baptism to the buzzing anticipation of the wedding. Guests were seated, their chatter a soft hum of excitement. Ridge stood stiffly at the front, his conflicted feelings for Brooke warring with his protective love for Steffy. Brooke glowed, her belief in destiny finally being realized. The music swelled, the processional beginning. And then, there she was. Hope, on the arm of her proud stepfather, Ridge. She was a vision in a simple, elegant white gown, her eyes fixed on Liam, who waited for her with a look of such profound love and relief it could have melted the coldest heart. They reached the altar. The officiant began to speak, his words about love, commitment, and fidelity weaving a spell over the gathering. Liam and Hope repeated their vows, their voices steady, their hands clasped tightly. "I, Liam, take you, Hope, to be my wife. To have and to hold, from this day forward, for better, for worse." It was as he spoke the words, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, that a sudden commotion at the back of the room caused a ripple of unease. All heads turned. Steffi stood in the doorway, silhouetted against the bright daylight. She was not dressed for a wedding. She wore a severe, powerful black pantsuit, an armor for the battle she was about to wage. Her expression was not one of sadness, but of cold, grim determination. The music faltered and died. A collective gasp went through the crowd. Brooke's hand flew to her mouth. Ridge took a step forward, his face a mask of alarm. "Steffi? What is this?" Liam's face drained of all color. "Steffi, don't," he said, his voice low, a desperate plea. Hope clung to his arm, her own face pale. "Liam? What's happening?" Steffi ignored them all, her gaze locked on the couple at the altar. She began to walk slowly down the aisle, her heels echoing in the stunned silence. It was not the walk of a guest, it was the march of an executioner. "Don't what, Liam?" Steffi's voice cut through the tension, clear and sharp as broken glass. "Don't tell the truth? Don't expose the beautiful, loving farce you're performing for all these people?" "Steffi, this is not the time or the place," Ridge commanded, moving to intercept her. "On the contrary, father," she retorted, not breaking her stride, "this is the perfect time and place. It's the one time they can't sweep their lies under the rug. It's the one place where everyone who matters can see them for who they really are." She reached the front, standing just feet from the horrified couple. The guests were frozen, a tableau of shock and morbid fascination. "What are you doing, Steffi?" Hope's voice was a tremulous whisper. "Please, don't do this. Don't?" Steffi's laugh was a harsh, bitter sound. "You don't get to ask me for anything, Hope. Not after what you've done. Not after the secret the two of you have been hiding." Liam found his voice, a mixture of panic and anger. "There is no secret, Steffi. You're upset, and I get that, but you need to leave. Now." "Upset?" Steffi's eyes blazed. "I'm not upset, Liam. I'm disgusted. I'm here to stop this wedding, because the man you are," she pointed a trembling finger at him, "is a fraud. And the woman you're marrying," her gaze swung to Hope, "is his willing accomplice." She turned to face the audience, her voice projecting to every corner of the room. "They stand here, talking about fidelity and forever, about the sacred bond of marriage. They had a beautiful baptism for their daughter this morning, preaching about a new beginning. But what they haven't told you, what they've been hiding from everyone, is that their perfect reconciliation is built on a bed of lies." Brooke surged to her feet. "Steffi, that's enough. You're just jealous. You can't stand to see Liam happy with Hope." "Jealous?" Steffi shot back, her voice dripping with venom. This isn't about jealousy, Brooke. This is about truth. Ask your daughter. Ask her about the night of the Forrester Gala. Ask her what happened after Liam left the party. Hope's knees buckled, and only Liam's tight grip kept her upright. The color had completely left her face. No. Steffi, please. Tell them, Hope. Steffi demanded. Or should I? Tell them how Liam came to you that night. Tell them how he was drunk and confused, and you, the ever-understanding Hope, comforted him. Tell them how that comfort ended up in your bed. A deafening silence fell over the room. You could have heard a petal drop from one of the wedding bouquets. It's not true, Liam whispered, but the lack of conviction in his voice was more damning than any confession. Isn't it? Steffi pressed, turning her fiery gaze back to him. I heard you, Liam. I heard the two of you whispering about it, panicking about your mistake. You begged her not to tell me. You said it would destroy everything. Well, look around, she gestured broadly, the destruction starts now. The dam broke. The guests erupted in a cacophony of whispers and exclamations. Ridge looked from Liam to Steffi, his expression one of horrified disbelief. Brooke stared at Hope, her world crumbling as she saw the truth written plain as day on her daughter's guilty face. Part 4, The Aftermath, Angry Threats and a Future in Flames. The carefully constructed facade of the day was gone, replaced by raw, unfiltered chaos. You slept with him? Brooke's voice was a strangled cry, directed at Hope. After everything, after he finally chose you, you risked it all for one night? Mom, it wasn't like that. Hope cried, tears streaming down her face. It was a moment of weakness, we were both so emotional, we regretted it instantly. Regret doesn't change the fact that you did it. Steffi roared. You are no better than anyone else, Hope Logan. You stand on your moral high ground, judging me, judging my family, while you're sneaking around with a man who was supposed to be fully committed to you. You're a hypocrite. Liam stepped between them, his own composure shattered. Stop it, Steffi. This is between you and me. You had no right to do this. I had every right, she screamed back, her face inches from his. You made it my business when you created a life with me and my daughter. You made it my business when you decided to build your future on a lie that directly affects my child's family. Did you think of Kelly at all when you were in bed with her? Did you think about what this would do to her when it eventually came out? Her words were laced with a pain that went deeper than anger. This was a mother's fury, the fury of someone fighting for the integrity of her child's world. You don't get to talk about Kelly, Liam retorted, his voice shaking with rage. You're using her as a weapon to punish me. No, Liam. You used her. Steffi's voice dropped to a low, threatening growl, the angry threats now crystal clear. You used our family as a consolation prize when things with Hope got too complicated. Well, no more. I am done being your backup plan. I am done with your waffling and your lies. If you go through with this wedding, I will make sure you never see Kelly again. I will take you for full custody, and I will use this charade, as evidence that you are an unfit father, a man with no moral compass who lies to the mother of his child and hides affairs. The threat hung in the air, cold and absolute. It was a nuclear option, and Steffi had just launched it. Ridge finally stepped in, grabbing Steffi's arm. Steffi, that's enough. You've said what you came to say. Now, you need to leave. Steffi wrenched her arm away, but the fight was slowly draining from her, replaced by a weary, bitter triumph. She had done what she set out to do. She looked at Hope and Liam one last time, their dream in tatters around them. Enjoy your wedding, she spat, before turning on her heel and walking back up the aisle, leaving a trail of devastation in her wake. The room was left in a state of shock. The officiant stood awkwardly, his book of ceremonies hanging limply at his side. Guests began to murmur and shuffle out, unable to bear the uncomfortable spectacle any longer. At the altar, Hope was sobbing uncontrollably, her face buried in her hands. The encouraging words from her mother, from Liam, from the baptism just hours before, now felt like a cruel joke. The baptism of their new beginning had been followed by a funeral for their relationship. Liam stood frozen, staring at the space where Steffy had been. He could feel Hope's body shaking beside him, but he couldn't move to comfort her. His mind was a whirlwind of guilt, fear, and a terrifying, clarifying realization: Steffy's angry threats were not empty. His relationship with his daughter was now on the line. The secret he and Hope had sworn to keep, the single mistake they thought they could bury, had not only ruined their wedding but had potentially cost him one of his children. Brooke rushed to her daughter's side, wrapping her in a protective embrace, her own heart breaking. Ridge stood by, his loyalties torn to shreds, the victory he had reluctantly supported for Brooke's sake now revealed as a hollow sham. The beautiful flowers, the elegant decorations, the uneaten cake, all of it was now just set dressing for a tragedy. The wedding was over. The baptism of their future was null and void. All that remained were the angry threats, the bitter truth, and the daunting, seemingly impossible task of picking up the pieces of a love that, once again, had been shattered by a devastating secret. The bold and beautiful facade had been stripped away, leaving only the raw, ugly, and painfully human truth beneath.